So the final way to conduct an appraisal is something called the income approach. And in the income approach, you look at the income that a property produces, and based on the income that it makes, that will help determine the value of the property. So basically, in this approach, you're converting income into value. That term is capitalization. So capitalization is the process whereby income is converted into value. So the more money you want your property to be worth, the more income it has to generate. So the higher the income, the more the building will be worth. Income is directly related to the value. That's called capitalization. The types of properties that the income approach would work best on would be, for example, apartment complexes, multi-tenant office buildings, multi-tenant retail buildings, anything where what you're buying is the income. Really, if you think about what this is, if you buy an apartment building, why are you buying the apartment building? You're buying it because of the income that the building actually produces. So the income approach is a way to quantify that, to convert the income into value. Now, there's this pretty simple formula as to how this is calculated. And the income approach is calculated, the value of the property is equal to the property's annual net income divided by its capitalization rate. So there's a couple things we have to define here first. Let's first define what annual net income is. Annual net income is the income that the property produces after you subtract out some expenses. Now, what are some expenses that you might incur when you own an income property? Well, property taxes, reserves for replacement of improvements, property management, utilities, right? All of these are things that are pretty standard when you own an income-producing property. Notice one thing that I did not say that you deduct is debt service. To calculate annual net income, you do not deduct debt service, meaning your mortgage payment. Here's why. Notice that the annual net income is a component of the value. Because remember, the value is equal to the property's annual net income divided by its capitalization rate. So let's say that I were to borrow money from my dad. Let's say I borrowed $800,000 from him to go buy a property. And he said, look, son, don't worry about the interest rate, just pay me when you can. So my interest rate is 0. If I included debt service in a calculation of annual net income, if I included debt service in that, it might make the property look like a better performing building than it really is, because my debt service is at 0%. It would be impossible for anybody to get a loan at 0%. Therefore, it's not a true and accurate picture of the annual net income of the property. So the annual net income includes expenses, right? You've deducted out expenses to get to the NOI, which is net operating income, but you do not include debt service. So if the state exam were to ask you, a calculation for annual net income would never include, your answer, your mortgage payment.